And with all this campaign and everything, they said, that when the Confederacy was formed and that all weapons of war were buried, the white pine was uprooted and all the weapons of war were thrown into this hole. And but that's not what it says. In the language, it says that he pulled out he uprooted the white pine. And all the things, like in the language, Estrada-Goeman would be objects you would use to hurt one another, to fight with. And but when he uprooted the tree, he said, almost sounds the same. But what it really means is that all those things that cause us to fight with one another is what we throw into this hole. Because it's not weapons that makes you fight. It's the anger, the jealousy, the hatred, the greed, and all those horrible emotions is what makes people fight, not the objects. It's those emotions. Like earlier, he mentioned about 7 spans thick. That's why when they threw all those things into the hole, and they said it would go never to be able to be allowed to come back. That's why it says you will develop 7 spans thick your skin, and this is a span, and your skin will be 7 times that thick. That these emotions should never penetrate your skin to go into your bloodstream and to go to your mind to make you make decisions that are not good. And but always you use the clear eyes to see the truth, clean ears to hear the truth. And with that truth, only what's good will come out of you. That's what was meant by all those things. And these guys nobody wants the people to know about these things. Because if the people don't know, then the people don't know what to do. They don't know what these things mean. And you as the people, you have to know this stuff. That you need to have the knowledge. Because the only way you will ever re-empower yourselves is by getting the knowledge. It is that knowledge. And I guarantee you, if you learn 10% of what the knowledge at this table, they will not be able to stand up against you. They can't. But the thing is, you cannot wait for someone else. You will have to take it upon yourself. You will have to make that commitment, and you must stick with it. As hard as it may be, you'll have to stick with it, because I always encourage the people, when you're going to do something, remember, it's not for you. You're only part of it. You're doing it with your kids. All of you have told stories and said, I remember the day we all got along. I remember the day we could all sing and dance together and things were so nice. People came from all over. Everybody was happy. Everybody was friends. Everybody was friends because there was no controversy. Our one enemy was the United States government or Albany or Ottawa or Quebec City or some other place. That was who our enemy was. And the men who were put in positions, they got comfortable. They became very comfortable because now now the outside said, well, you're the only one who listens. You're the only one. So they're the big cheeses now. And now that people started to learn and realize that, hey, we have a right, we have a voice. And when the people start to exercise that, then that's when it became hard. Because now, if the people start exercising their rights and carrying out their voice and everything else, these men put into positions would now have to be responsible. They had to take responsibility. And when you have an irresponsible lot sitting there, what do you expect the opposition is going to be? They're going to defend. They're going to defend. And the thing is that they're going to throw stupidity at you and continuously try to tell you that they are the power. They've been the power for so long, but they never did anything. They might have sent some letters to Washington or to Albany or to Ottawa and sometimes to the Queen. But these were all paper tigers. Never accomplished nothing. No one was afraid of Radino Shuni. Nobody. No government was afraid of us. It is when the people and the Estrada-Goeman took action and started to do things. And then there was a concern on the part of the United States, there was a concern on the part of New York State, there was a concern on the part of the Canadian government. They had to do something to put a stop to what was happening. And a lot of people think 1990 was over a golf course. It was not over a golf course. It was trying to squash what was referred to as the movement of the Warrior Society. It really wasn't a movement of the Warrior Society. It was the people empowering themselves. Now people started using the tobacco trade as part of their economy. It was a way to generate capital, to reinvest, to help to start building. And by the tobacco industry coming into our territory, 65% of the people on social assistance were now off social assistance. Now, construction companies, flower shops, butcher shops, and all kinds of other businesses got started in our communities, and people were working. No longer were the people at the mercy of like the tribal system or elective system. Now the people were standing up to these systems. And so this is the fear. This is the fear, is that the people will take control. And these guys think that they should make those decisions. But the thing is, I always say, especially to you, the mothers, look at who sits on council. I don't care if it's an elective council or if it's a so-called longhouse council. Look who's sitting on council. And you ask yourself as mothers, do you want these individuals to determine the future of what your children are going to have to live? When you look at men who have been put in these great positions, you look at a man, all he was a wife beater. You look at a man who did not take care of his family. You look at a man who was an alcoholic. You look at a man who was a child abuser. He was all of these things. And now you're going to look at him and you're going to say, yes, you make the decision. He was not man enough to take responsibility for those things that were most precious to him. And now you're going to say, you make that decision? No, the children are yours. You, the mothers, must not stay silent. You, the mothers, have to speak out. You have to take action. You cannot allow these people to say to you, you have no right, you have no authority. They've never respected your right or your authority. And who the hell are they now to tell you these things? You have to take charge of who you are for the benefit of your children. Because if you don't straighten this out now, the day is going to come not far away. Your children are going to inherit this unresolved problem, and it's going to be a bigger problem at the time. Because cancer is at the tip of this finger. And if you allow it to keep going, it's going to start taking your arm and that. And by the time you have done nothing, your children are going to have that cancer spreading through their whole system. And eventually it will kill them. That's what it comes down to. You got sons. You got husbands. You got fathers. You have uncles. It is your job to start telling them, get off the damn couch. Get away from that bar stool. Come over here and we are going to tell you what the facts of life are going to be. We're going to tell you what your duty and responsibility is. You must learn what Estrada-Goeman means. It doesn't mean warrior. Estrada-Goeman begins with that little boy you raised. Now his voice is going to change. Now it is time for his uncles to take him. You have given him the foundation as a mother. As women, you have given them that foundation. Now it's up to the uncles. Those uncles must take that young man, and his voice is changing. Now his hormones are, off the wall kind of thing. They have to deal with him. They have to teach him how to control these things. And so they put him by himself in a place where he's all alone. No food, no water, no companionship, no comforts at all. Just himself and the environment. He's sitting there. If it's raining, he sits through it. If it's snowing, he sits through it. If it's hot, he sits through it. No matter what, he sits through it. With no food and no water. First thing, he starts getting hungry. And he thinks to himself, geez, if I was with my mother, I'd be eating maybe this or maybe that. And now he can only think of it and long for what he took for granted. Now he gets thirsty. He's thinking, geez, if I was with my mother, she'd give me a strawberry drink. She'd give me a nice cool glass of water. She'd do all the time he was catered to. Now he's getting cold. He's got no fire. Geez, if I was with my mother, I'd be sitting by the fire and my grandmother would have put a blanket around me or whatever. Now he's thinking about all these things. Now he hears sounds that he's seen all the time, and he's heard all the time, but never thought twice about it because he was in the comfort of his mother and his relatives. Now he hears the coyote. Now he gets scared. Where he was never scared of a coyote before. All of these things. Now he's thinking, always his mother, his mother, his mother. And then after the 4 days or 4 nights when his uncle comes in and gets him out of that circle, he says to him, what's the thing that stands out the most in your mind? And then he thinks, well, I was watching these ants, and this is what these ants were doing. And I was really observing them. All right, that's going to be your medicine. You might say, I've seen this hawk, or I've seen this wolf, or I've seen this bear. Well, whatever he most stood out in his mind, that's going to be his medicine. And so while he was up there, his mother, grandmother, an aunt, somebody was making him a pouch. A pouch to go around his neck or around his waist. And then when they came, they let him rest. They gave him food, water, made a couple, and now he was fresh. Now the mothers asked him, what stood out in your mind? What was the thing that stood out most in your mind? Now he has to repeat what he told his uncle. And so now this tells about his character. And so now they know he's